An 8-year-old boy spent the weekend with his mother in a residential complex near the sea. One night, he mysteriously disappeared from his bed. Everyone, including investigators, noticed his mother's strange behavior. Neighbors and relatives were convinced that she was involved in the disappearance of her son. The police tracked down a criminal who confessed to kidnapping the child. But after some time, another boy was abducted from the same complex. Subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to click on the bell to get notifications about new videos. The year 2000, a small resort town, Clearwater in Florida. To the west of the city lies the Gulf of Mexico, and to the southeast is Tampa Bay. In 2000, its population was nearly 109,000 people. Clearwater enjoys great popularity among vacationers due to its comfortable living, wonderful views, and fabulous beaches. But calling the life of 8-year-old Zachary Bernhardt and his 29-year-old mother Leah wonderful would be quite difficult. It was not easy for the young mother to raise her son alone and deal with paying considerable bills. They often had to change their place of residence, and the mother had to look for a new job that would allow her to make ends meet. In times when it was especially difficult for her, numerous relatives living nearby came to the rescue. But on September 11, 2000, the life of this close-knit family changed forever. Leah was constantly looking for work that could provide housing and everything necessary for her and her son Zachary. Eventually, she got a job at a marketing company where she mostly had to work the night shift, for which she received extra pay. This allowed them to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in the Savannah Trace residential complex. Today, the rent for such an apartment is about $2,000 per month. Working at night, the woman slept during the day while her son was at school. This way, she managed to combine raising a child with her job. If there were any issues, her neighbor from the residential complex would look after the boy. September 10, 2000, was a typical Sunday in the lives of Leah and Zachary, which they spent together. Leah cooked her son's favorite dish. They watched a movie together, and then, at Zachary's request, his mother put him to sleep in her own bed. Since the woman was used to staying awake at night, she couldn't fall asleep after her son. Leah used a computer, read, watched TV, and then decided to take the garbage bags to the complex's dumpsters. Upon returning, she checked if everything was okay with her son and decided to go for a swim in the pool within the cottage complex. It was almost 4 a.m., and night swimming was unusual for the woman. It is especially strange that she didn't bring any swimming gear, not even a towel. Moreover, Leah swam in the pool fully clothed, and this was just to swim from one end of the small pool to the other once. It would later turn out that she didn't lock the door behind her and left the keys in the room. Upon returning, Zachary's dog greeted her in the room, and the woman herself felt a strong cold and immediately went to take a hot shower. Coming out of it around 4:30 a.m., she discovered that her son had disappeared. According to Leah's testimony, the first thing she thought was that her son had fallen out of bed, and she just couldn't see him. Not finding the child on the floor, she went to the neighbor who sometimes looked after Zachary, but he wasn't there either. In the end, at 4:47 a.m., the woman called 911.
911, what is your emergency? I can't find my son. I went to the pool, and then I came back, and I got a good shower, and he wasn't here. Doctor, your door wasn't locked, but it was unlocked. It's just my fault.
The emergency service operator immediately dispatched police officers to the address provided, who examined the apartment of the mother and child, finding no signs of struggle or blood. They also checked the entire residential complex, but could not find the boy. Soon after, all regional services and organizations joined the search. The Clearwater Fire Department sent its water rescue team to search for Zachary, and the Tampa Police Department dispatched helicopters. But all efforts did not yield any results. The police began working on identifying possible persons of interest in the child's abduction. First, they became interested in the identity of Zachary's father. It turned out that almost no one knew who the boy's biological father was. However, Leah provided this information to the police. It turned out that the man didn't even know he had a child with Leah. Moreover, even after learning about the incident, he remained completely indifferent to Zachary's fate. Also, he was at a considerable distance from Florida, so there was no reason to suspect him of abducting the boy. The police officers who interrogated Leah noted her strange behavior during the testimony. Periods of sadness were replaced by bouts of normal well-being, and she even joked occasionally. Detectives noted these oddities in the woman's behavior, along with the fact that she went swimming at night, although she had never been known to have a penchant for swimming in general. At the same time, the press actively engaged in the case, thoroughly covering the personal life of the child's mother. Many neighbors and acquaintances of the family gave interviews, describing Leah from various perspectives. Some characterized her as a woman with rather fickle views on life, while others attributed to her an indiscriminate choice of men. As a result, the woman decided to personally make a statement to the journalists following her family's advice.
Anyone who has ever met Zach has loved Zach. The support of the community has shown us how much Zach is loved. We miss him, we love him very much, and we want him to come home. We're all here waiting, so please don't stop looking for Zach and help bring Zach home.
However, the police received new witness testimonies, according to which Leah's car was seen returning to the residential complex between 3 and 3:45. At that time, according to the woman's statements, she was with her child. In the end, a police representative stated at a press meeting that Zachary's mother was withholding some information from law enforcement and probably knew more about the circumstances of that evening than she had told the police during their conversations. The police department took this step to show the public that the investigation was not at a standstill and work was being done in all directions. Several months later, Leah moved out of the cottage complex where she had lived with Zachary. However, soon after that, investigators conducted a reconstruction of her actions on the night of September. Unfortunately, detectives were unable to learn anything new, as Leah quite accurately recreated everything that had happened that night. Soon after that, Leah disappeared from the public eye and stopped communicating with reporters. However, her son's disappearance caught the interest of the entire country, and the attention of hundreds of thousands of people was focused on the case. A Clearwater-based company offered a $5,000 reward for information related to the case. The police received hundreds of calls, but none provided any valuable information. But 8 months after Zachary's disappearance, police received a phone call that caught their attention. The caller told them about a man named Kevin Jalbert who committed crimes against children's sexual integrity. An undercover agent managed to gain his trust and even drove with him in a car, allegedly, to kidnap a boy. During the ride, Jalbert talked about how he used to steal, rape, and kill people, as well as his plans for the child he was going to abduct. He also took the undercover agent to the Savannah Trace complex, where Leah and Zachary used to live, and told him that he had taken a boy from there who was his latest victim at the time. However, the criminal led the undercover detective to the wrong cottage where Zachary lived. The police arrested Kevin Jalbert, who had a large amount of illegal material related to children. They also found a receipt from a landfill which was searched by law enforcement, but nothing related to Zachary was found there. However, Jalbert was found guilty of numerous crimes against minors, including preparing to kidnap, rape, and murder a minor, as well as possession of illegal photos and videos. He was ultimately sentenced to more than 40 years in prison. However, they could not establish a connection between him and Zachary Bernhardt's disappearance. But as it later turned out, at least one more similar criminal operated in the area. In August 2001, in Boulder, Colorado, about 1,900 miles away from Clearwater, a photo of a bound, light-haired boy was found in a parking lot near a sports goods store. The picture was taken outdoors. This image was distributed to many police stations, where missing boys of approximately the same age were registered. Among them, it reached the detectives investigating Zachary's disappearance in Clearwater. They invited the boy's relatives for identification of the child. However, they confidently stated that the person in the photo was not Zachary. 15 months after Zachary's disappearance, 3 children were playing on the playground of the Savannah Trace complex. At that time, a van pulled up to them and a man got out, offering to treat them to ice cream. A 5-year-old boy agreed and started approaching the vehicle. The stranger grabbed him, pushed him into the car, and drove away. 10 hours after the abduction, a police officer was passing by a garbage bin and heard a child's cries. Inside the bin, the man found the same boy who had been abducted on the territory of the Savannah Trace residential complex, which was located 80 miles away from where the child was found. What exactly happened to the child and what injuries he sustained is unknown. It is only known that the boy survived, but the perpetrator was never caught. Soon after the incident with her son, Leah Hackett stopped communicating with journalists, changed her place of residence, and, as far as is known, does not take an active part in searching for the child. The opinions of her relatives regarding Leah's involvement in Zachary's disappearance are divided. Some cannot fathom the thought that she could have harmed her son, while others blame her for what happened, noting a number of oddities in her behavior that night. The disappearance of Zachary Bernhardt remains a mystery for over 20 years now. Since then, several versions of Zach's appearance at different ages have been created. The police and the boy's family still believe that he is alive and do not lose hope of finding him. And what do you think happened to the child, and is his mother to blame for this?